How do you establish trust when building relationships?
Trust, that's a huge issue for me. I'm a rock climber and I've just, moved to a new area, and I've ad nauseum complained to almost everyone I know about how difficult it is to find a climbing partner, because the number one thing is you have to trust them with your life. And then you have to get along with them. It's someone you have to spend a lot of time in a tent or smashed together on a hanging belay for, hours at a time. And then, it has to be someone who climbs at the same level. But the number one thing is trust. And, it's a challenge. Sometimes you go with your gut feeling and you say, this is just someone that I feel like I can get along with, is someone I can trust. Other times, one of my new climbing partners, I ran into her partner at a hanging belay for about 45 minutes at the Gunks. We were just literally on top of each other. It was maybe the most awkward situation to be introduced to a stranger with. I mean, I'm all up in his business. And we started talking, and I said, I'm new to this area and I'm looking for partners. And I watched the way he climbed, and he was so safe and he was so good with his technique that I knew anyone he would climb with would also be at that level. So I think it's a lot of, sometimes you go with your gut feeling and you use observation. And, I'm also a scientist, so a lot of times it's a lot of observation. You watch what the other person does. You see how they are in different situations. I actually just had a big climbing partner breakup because some of the things that he did were very unsafe. And there's one thing where you feel like we can build trust if we can talk through an issue and say, I didn't like the way you did this particular thing. I thought it was unsafe. And some people are receptive to that. Some people aren't. And so, I think the number one thing is sort of, you get the sense of what the person is like, and then you observe their behavior and you observe sort of how they go about doing things. And then I think a huge part of trust is being willing to learn what the other person's preferences are and being open to new ideas. And, that means that your relationship is evolving a little bit, but it also means I can trust them a little bit more because you can evolve as people as opposed to just being static and stagnant and saying, this is the way I learned to do things and this is the way I'll always do them. There's not always just one right way to do something, and there could be different preferences that you have. So being open to saying, oh, this is the way you like to climb, this is the way I like to climb, these are my preferences. So I spend a lot of time thinking about trust in my relationships, and I've got one climbing partner who I just love climbing with because we've climbed together so much, and I can feel like I'm, hundreds of feet up, and I look down and I see them down there, and I know I'm going to be safe. And other people, you look down and you're like, oh God, I'm not really going to go for it. And I spent, I had a pretty bad injury, and I spent many years trying to just rebuild trust in myself and in my own skill to not have a really bad fall. And I took one of my good friends to the gym, and we call it whip therapy. We spent an entire night, I just fell over and over and over again, like 20, 30-foot falls planned. And, even though I knew I was going to fall, I had to trust that she was going to catch me, and she was going to be there with the rope catching me. And it's scary, I would climb up to a certain level and I would just let go. And I'd start falling, and I think, dear God, please stop, and eventually you start slowing down and you come to a stop and you think, she caught me, and so I think having the ability to know what your skill level is, what you can trust yourself to do, and then having a partner who can sort of back you up and sort of be at the same level can really help build a lot of that trust in the relationship.